Hello everyone, this is Claudia from craftmyartwork.com, and in today's video we're going to talk about how to doodle your own page with doodle flowers and watercolor them, and from that craft your own card. For example, congratulations card or a hello card. I often do this as a therapeutic thing. I sit down at my desk and just start doodling. I start in a corner and just go from there, and all my flowers, kind of stem from each other and go beneath each other. Usually this process takes several hours because sometimes I work on really big pieces, but this time my idea was to just make this A4 piece. I was testing this watercolor paper from Canson. This is a more cheaper watercolor paper, let's say more like student grade, but it's still very good. It's still very thick, so it doesn't warp. And I wanted to actually test the pens, so I bought these new pens, which are the Uni-Pen, and I wanted to see how well they do on watercolor paper. Usually pens like microns or any others have a hard time on rough paper like Canson or other watercolor papers, and making this piece kind of allowed me to see what the possibilities are, how black the black is actually, and how fast I can draw these kind of pieces with these pens. Usually if you have a problem with the pen because it doesn't glide correctly, the piece will take you a longer time, because you constantly have to go back and make the lines more black. I didn't have this problem with these pens, luckily, so I really enjoyed this piece. I actually enjoyed it so much that I couldn't actually have the heart to cut it down to a smaller size and make a card out of it, but more on that later. I also wanted to discuss with you guys in this video the name change, because actually you notice that now I'm part of craftmyartwork.com. I have been away from YouTube for a long time, more than a year actually, and I wasn't sure I will come back. A lot of things have happened, and maybe I'll just make a video about what happened and why I've been so long away. But I decided that like Bubble Spark was not really representative of what I was trying to do, and let's say I enjoyed more the doodling and the finding out about watercolors and so on than actually making the digital illustrations I was doing. I will still make digital things, and I will still post things that you can download and color in yourself, and I'm actually working on making my own coloring pages and things like that. But I thought that the name change and website change was a welcome sight. I also closed my company because it wasn't really doing anything. So if you're wondering what happened, basically I decided to be more true to myself. So I will also aim to post more regularly, so at least 3 times a week, in which one will be like these ones where I try to make a card and I start with a piece or with a stamp. I love using stamps and just coloring. We'll have a section where I will probably be doing more craft my artwork. I like to do these doodle pieces, but you can do them with the stamps that you have, or with just drawing and making something that you can frame and put in your home, and use different mediums and different cool stuff. So I will dedicate a section only for that every week. And another part is that I'm progressing in my journey with watercolors, and I really love them, but I still have a lot to learn, and I would like to take everybody on this journey with me. Of course there are going to be more content, but I think it's enough about that, and we can go back to the piece I was doing. So you notice that I am drawing a lot of different flowers. Some people might draw the same type of flower multiple times, but I have problems with that. I always try to come up with something new on every flower that I make, and sometimes it takes a long time because I have to think like what would fit here and how will I make it. And another tip that I have is that first draw the big elements, like draw the leaf, draw the big petal, and once you've done with that and you're happy, then you can go in on every petal and actually add the details, going in on every leaf and actually add the lines, like what I'm going to do that. First of all, because these very thin lines I actually make with a smaller pen, with a 005. It's the equivalent of a micro pen, and it does take a long time because you have to be careful. I don't have yet the perfect control of my pen, and sometimes I do stop too late and I go over the line, which I hate, but I've learned to live with this and to go on. But the more you practice, amazingly, like when I first started, if I look at my first drawing, it was horrible. But the more you practice and the more hours you spend doing this, the better you get. I'm also trying to have a constant way of doing the leaves. Previously, in my previous doodles, I was trying different types of leaves, and then that doesn't give a very good feel to the entire drawing, because people are going to constantly see different type of leaves, and it's not cohesive. So maybe I'll make a tutorial later on different types of leaves and you know what works best when. But for now, I really enjoyed doing this piece, and I have another problem, like when I'm reaching this stage where you see some on the edges quite some white parts. If I would continue with the flowers, I wasn't sure, should I continue from this side or should I start from the other side, from the edges, to come back. Sometimes maybe I'm thinking it's not yet finished, I wanna fill out every little white space. It doesn't really work at the edge. Several hours have passed and maybe I'm a little bit tired, so this time I actually chose to start from the edges to see what happens. I wasn't totally happy about this, but in the end I didn't throw away the piece. It was still nice, and after I've drawn all of this, I actually couldn't bring myself to cut it down. The original idea was I will make all these doodles, and then I'll find the best part, because sometimes, you know, parts of it you like, parts of it you don't like, and then I'll just cut it with one of those rectangle dies and I'll make a card out of it. However, that didn't happen, because then I got a different idea later on to actually frame this entire piece, and you know I would color it and I'll make it nice, and I'll just frame it and put it in my living room, because it was a big piece. It was an A4, so yeah, that worked. But you can see now at the end that I really have trouble deciding, like, how do I feel the areas, how do I feel the white. It's always at the end that I have this problem. Other than that, the pens that I have are I think also archival, so pretty much like the micron pens. I would say that the micron pens are somewhat juicier than these ones, but they don't really, it doesn't really bother me that much if it's not that juicy. It actually helps a little bit, because if I would be working with micron pens, I would have to put white paper on top, or a piece of paper on top of what I've done, so I don't smear the ink, and with this one, because it's a bit not so juicy, it dries out quite fast. So yeah, actually, if you think about it, it's for the best. So I'm really trying watching this after the fact. I'm really trying very hard to fill in all the blanks, and of course these pieces take a long time. Sometimes I have some pieces that take more than 4 hours to make, which is okay because you have to practice. The thing I learned, let's say this last year, that if you don't practice at least every week, let's say I do this every week a couple of times, your hand forgets how to make the shapes, and the more you practice, you can make the circles better, you can make the petals better, and they're more and more realistic and more nicer. Now I decided to watercolor this, and I was thinking, should I actually use my watercolors and go on? But no, I had purchased the Zig markers. Oh, first of all, I decided I'm going to die cut this word, this hugs word. This is from my favorite things die, and I had this idea that I will die cut from the middle. I will have an opening, and then I can put another paper underneath and will make like a really cool contrast. And at least this was my starting idea, and I found out that actually finding that contrast is so hard, especially when I use the markers, because I use the markers as you can see there. I made another piece, like a test piece before, and I'm using the markers, and I decided to use all the markers, like all the colors that I have. And I will be helped by some watercolor brushes. But when you use so many colors, it's very hard to actually find something underneath to contrast this, which is very funny. So I actually ended up doing another piece more later on, in which I actually only focused on 3 main colors, and that worked much better. So my idea in my head was like, I'm going to color this so awesome, it's going to be the best coloring I've ever done with this one, and it's going to look so cool, and I can blend things, and I can make shading. But then when you try to put any color I try to put underneath, even like leaving it black, it didn't stand out against all the colors. So my advice, if you want to do something that is more elegant, or if you're trying to make something like this where you die cut something in the middle, or even don't die cut, let's assume that you don't die cut anything, but you have in your design some big letters that you don't fill in, and they're somewhere in the middle, and you're trying to color in all around, these things will not work, and for the reason that you have too many colors. Like, there's such a thing as too many colors, I would assume. The way I'm coloring is I'm trying to use the same colors, for example 2 shades of orange, and I'm trying to use it first on all the flowers that I want, and I'm trying to make them not sit next to each other. So I'll go through all the color schemes, first do the lighter yellow, and then I'll put some orange, and then I'll try to spread things around them, blend them. You could definitely also blend the other way around, so just putting the color down and not use any water, and then putting the darker shade and then blending it out, just like you would do with Copic markers, I suppose, blending it out with the lighter shade. This time I was trying to see how does it react to water, how much I can spread it around. There are always colors in every markers that I've found. that once you put the color down, it absorbs so fast in the paper that you cannot spread it around with water. So I was trying to find that. I have that problem with the distress markers, and with these ones, the colors that I found that have this property are usually the browns and the grays, and some of the blues. The reds, the pinks, and the yellows don't have this, so it always is with only a few colors that you cannot spread them around, or they're not maybe juicy enough. I'm not sure what the reason is for this. It already looks really nice, and I should have just maybe started to treat colors and the leaves, but no, I was just trying to fill in every little piece with every color combination that I had. So like color families, and see how everything works. Okay, maybe I should put some music. Oh no, I can tell you some more about pieces like this. In a way, these flowers are pretty flat, so they're not necessarily realistic flowers. Some of them maybe are, but when you're drawing some realistic flowers, you're trying to make them more 3D. But these ones are really flat designs, and they go from each other, and it looks like they're underneath each other, and they're not really finished, because you try to draw with the illusion that you have all the petals of the flowers, and the rest of the flower is just hidden away behind some things. But let's say these are more like the mandala or the doodle design flowers, and of course I tried to also draw some other realistic ones, but these ones are by far my favorite. And the reason is that you can basically do endless designs. Like if you try to do some realistic flowers, you're kind of bound to what exists in nature, but in here you can mix and match basically any little piece that you have, any little you can do the middle part differently. You can do the petals that have weird shapes, and you can do on the same flower one row of a different type of petal, and then another row that looks a bit like you have square petals with round petals, and so on and so forth. I have actually, let's say, collected quite a few designs over the last year that I've tried, and I have tried many designs, and I'm right now sticking to only a few that I think work well together. You can hear now somebody going downstairs in my house. The stairs are not yet fully done. Now you notice that I'm leaving the leaves at the end, and that is for a very good reason. Leaves are usually a lot. You might not think this when you see it, but I've made a lot of leaves, and I tend to forget them. I tend to try to do one or two, and then I always, oh yeah, there's another one, and there's another one. So this time I decided I'll do all the flowers, and then I'll do the leaves at the end. Other things that might be of interest is that I've also, okay, I'm moving from topic to topic, and I hope you're still with me till the end, and you haven't muted me yet, but I've also changed the website, and I moved to WordPress because I thought, okay, the WordPress sounds like a better a better platform for blogging, and you have much more possibilities than what I had before. Also, I was kind of in need of a different look and feel to my blog, and Blogspot wasn't really offering many options. So the blog is still a little bit work in progress, well, because I'm building it myself, so I also need a little bit of time, since I'm also working full-time and I'm doing this like in the evenings. And so if you see missing pages and things like that, you know, they're going to come in the next 2 weeks. I'll have some free time to work on it, and I will also try to link to the products that I used. Sometimes I use a lot of products that maybe are no longer being sold, either by Simons and stuff, where I buy a lot of my things, or on Amazon even. Basically, I most of the time buy from Simon or Amazon, so those are the two things I link. Where I have affiliate links, I will use those. When I don't have, I won't. For now, of course, I didn't receive anything from the manufacturer. All the stuff for now I bought myself, so I have quite a big collection that I bought over the years, and I'm trying not to buy as many things as before. And the reason for that is that I keep buying because I find, of course, there's a lot of awesome things around, but that buying of stamps and things doesn't really help me in my art journey, doesn't really help me with my drawing journey, and where I want to go, because it kind of shortcuts. Of course, they're really nice and I really like to use them, but they also cost quite a lot of money. If you have to keep current with all the latest releases and everything, man, you'll spend a lot of cash on that. So I try to bundle all my buying, and I actually have some haul videos coming up, but I usually do like every half year I do a big spending, and that's it. I try to limit them, and this gives me the opportunity to actually wait for all the releases from all the cool brands and just choose the ones that I like the most. And also from a monetary perspective, it's easier. So that's why I also started with craft my artwork, because actually I wanted to increase my art skills and my drawing skills and my watercolor skills, and not necessarily always focus on making cards. Sometimes I want to do very big pieces, and actually limiting myself to just the card size was sometimes frustrating me, because I only had 5.5 by 4.25 or a slightly bigger size, and I sometimes want to make these big pieces. Okay, now that I've finished quite a lot of the things, I'm trying to go in and make the middle of the flowers. And where was I? Wow, I keep rambling here. This video is way too long, but if you would know that the real footage is actually well over 4 hours, I am surprised still that I got it so small still. I hope you're still bearing with me, and you haven't gotten too bored with this. Yeah, so that is the reason why maybe not all the videos will feature cards. I'll try to make like Monday or Tuesday cards, and then the rest of the week something different, something that will help me grow in my journey. I still love to make cards. I still make cards like for friends and for colleagues at work that keep asking me, hey, can you make a card for my girlfriend, or for my wife? It's my wife's birthday, and I love to do that, and because my colleagues really like the handmade feel, and they really appreciate that. So yeah, I will continue to make this kind of cards, and I'll probably just bundle more card designs in one video sometimes, or just a very complicated one. We will see. But for the rest of the week, I would like to focus on my journey. And of course, since I'm not like a design person or an art person, I didn't finish art school. I'm actually a software engineer, which is very funny. It's just to show you that my belief is everybody can draw. When I started to draw, it was horrible, of course, and I think everybody with proper practice, like if you practice every week, will get better. Even this piece, you might think, wow, that's impossible to make. Actually, it's not, but it did take me a while to practice and to find the correct flowers. So this is the end result. I framed this piece, and I also put back the only color that I could fit that will stand out was this glitter paper, this red glitter paper. So this shows you that you shouldn't use as many colors as I did, because otherwise nothing will stand out as much. I also, with the first piece that you saw in the video, I made a card, and I just stamped a congratulations stamp from Simon & Stamp, I believe, with black ink on top of it. It doesn't really show because again I used too many colors, but I tried to fix it by using white. And then of course I have another piece, which is the black one, which is my favorite, which I did after everything, and I tried to stick with only 3 color families, and it's much more relaxed, much more elegant. And also I use a Pentel aquash brush with black to make the background completely black. This made sure that the hugs sentiment really stands out. This was all for today. You can click subscribe to see more of my videos, my upcoming videos. You can learn more by going to the blog post. You'll see more detailed pictures and you know, the list of the supplies, and also, you know, down are more similar videos.